Where are we going with automatic track warning systems, as more than a dozen are decommissioned? Also in this programme, a helping hand for new starters. Mentoring gets the thumbs up. How planning discipline and firefighting causes friction for the S&T. And Track 02 goes forth for a landmark installation. You're watching SafetyNet 21. When the project started, 17 permanent ATWSs were due to be installed. Today, 2 are being retained and others re-evaluated. Maintenance and equipment issues, together with benefits resulting from Rimini, have caused Network Rail to reassess the scheme. Whilst it insists other permanent systems will be installed and the use of portable ATWS is encouraged, campaigners claim promotion of the systems is now more difficult.
Low Fell near Newcastle, and an ATWS costing £250,000 sits idle. 24 track workers have already been trained to operate it, but despite the access benefits at this difficult location, the system is soon to be removed. More than a dozen others are going with it. Network Rail says that some will be replaced by modern systems over the coming months, and green zones are now available at other locations. But ATWS champions say decommissioning sends the wrong message to track workers.
We've been saying ATWS is coming, ADWS is coming, and then all of a sudden we start to put in umpteen systems and then promptly take them up again before we've even got them in use. The effect of that on people's belief that ATWS is the thing of the future for track workers, no track worker is going to believe they're ever going to happen.
It really does send out the wrong message that we've been providing to the workforce for the last 9 years. And the credibility that we have as an industry that is promoting safety, when it takes a major step backwards, can only be seriously damaged.
Commercial trials for permanent ATWSs were held near Glasgow late in 2001. With safety and performance benefits on offer, the subsequent installation project was backed by the Strategic Rail Authority.
We've pump primed that, some £3.7 million, to help in getting this initiative off the ground. Hopefully there will be business cases now that will certainly re-evaluate the automatic track warning systems, and we shall see more and more being introduced.
2 systems at Hatfield and Leighton Buzzard are being brought into service. Network Rail insists other permanent systems will be installed if there's a business case, and ATWSs could be built into new signalling schemes once equipment is approved, particularly around critical junctions. The use of portable systems will be encouraged on major works, such as renewals, and where justified under Rimini, for short-term maintenance activities.
Well, I'm joined by John Abbott from Network Rail and Peter Woolgar of the Railway Inspectorate. Peter Woolgar first. What's HMRI's position now as far as these systems are concerned?
Well, Network Rail, as part of their Railway Safety Case Development Plan, have a commitment to installing the semi-permanent ATWS systems, and we will be writing to Network Rail to seek confirmation of that development plan, or if they wish to change it, to evaluate what else it is they intend to do.
The RMT is advocating a strong enforcement line on ATWS. Has the time come for that?
Well, ATWS is part of the Rimini standard, which is of course an industry-derived standard which HMRI have consistently encouraged and persuaded industry in its use. And I think the time has not yet come for enforcement. The time has come for HMRI to be more involved in helping the industry to define exactly what is reasonably practicable for ATWS systems.
John Abbott, sum up for us, if you would, where we're at now with these systems.
Well, we've learnt a great deal about semi-permanent systems over the last 12 months, and also under the implementation of Rimini. Key to what we've learnt are the need for improved ruggedised specification of the system, and the fact that Rimini provides improved access at certain locations. Therefore, we have rethought through our approach to semi-permanent systems, and over the next few months we'll progressively be installing at all relevant locations where such systems can be justified in both safety and cost terms.
Despite all the promotion, ATWS has proven to be a difficult culture change to crack. How do you intend to drive that forward?
We remain absolutely committed, but recognise we need to work with other people, such as our contractors, the unions and the HSC. To do that, we're going to further encourage the use of portable systems, working very closely with our maintenance contractors and with projects-based systems to undertake on protection on large-scale renewal sites. So by working with those groups and also getting approved fixed systems for interlocking with the signalling, we hope to move forward together to make the railway more successful and reliable.
OK, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. An overhead line contractor suffered serious injuries after an incident at a worksite in Birmingham in the early hours of the 1st of July. It's understood 3 men were underneath live overhead line equipment on a rail-mounted platform, which moved upwards, resulting in one man receiving an electric shock. He sustained extensive burns. The OLE was due to have been isolated before work started, but this hadn't happened as a result of an unrelated irregularity. An inquiry has been set up to investigate the precise circumstances. And a lookout died from his injuries after coming into contact with a live conductor rail at Micheldever in Hampshire on the 7th of August, whilst work was taking place on insulator pots. It's believed the deceased had been in a position of safety, but it's not known how he came into contact with a live rail in the 6-foot. New starters in some safety-critical posts are being mentored as part of a scheme which started back in May. COSs, PICOPs and senior PICOPs now have to go through a probationary period before their new qualifications are confirmed. Similar arrangements could eventually be introduced for PTS holders.
Dave Frost may have passed the classroom tests, but for his first few weeks of on-track COSing, he hasn't been left to his own devices. Helping him to shoulder the responsibility is experienced mentor Nick Diaz.
Let's face it, the COS, it's not a great job and there's a lot of responsibility in it. So these new COSs coming in, you know, they need this confidence behind them and seeing how everybody, you know, experienced COSs work.
Yep, so it's 50.
Labour supplier Sky Blue introduced their own mentoring scheme back in February to provide new starters with practical support and guidance. They've welcomed the benefits.
Downflow is bi-directional.
It's backup for them. They're not just getting sent out as they were in the past on a job, go on, get on with it. There's actually somebody there, or they have been shown how to do and what to do in a correct, safe manner.
Under the Network Rail policy, new COSs, PICOPs and senior PICOPs are probationary for up to 3 months. The qualification is only confirmed after 2 assessments have been completed in the workplace. Until then, duties can only be carried out under the supervision of a knowledgeable track safety mentor.
With the help of people, it gets a lot better and easier. Just got to use your rule book. And now with the help of Nick, who's mentoring me, makes you feel a lot better, because if you do slip up anything, he'll pick me up and put me right on it, and then you get better as you go along.
Currently, the Network Rail scheme only covers 3 safety-critical competencies, but mentoring for new PTS holders is a future commitment in its safety and environment plan.
More unannounced random screening could be on the way as the industry steps up its efforts to address the issue of drugs and alcohol in the workplace. Network Rail says around 10% of DNA tests currently produce a positive result. Whilst it accepts misuse can have safety implications, the RMT has voiced some concerns at the prospect of more screening.
Society's more liberal approach to drugs and alcohol isn't reflected on the railway, for obvious reasons. Contractor C. Spencer takes the issue very seriously and believes its accident rate, which is below the industry norm, is at least in part due to proactive DNA screening.
If the policies are evident, then we can make a big impression into the culture of people who are working in areas that safety is important and paramount to their own well-being and that of others.
To reinforce that message nationwide, Network Rail is looking to increase the level of unannounced screening for both safety-critical staff and others whose work could affect the safe operation of the railway. If you've nothing to hide, you've nothing to fear, say many. Too simplistic, insists the RMT.
I myself have been tested on a number of occasions and I had nothing to hide, but I certainly found it very worrying, and people underestimate the effect it is on someone being screened, who are pretty simply innocent, got nothing to worry about, but it does have an effect. It does cause anxiety and stress.
On the basis that prevention is better than cure, an awareness and lifestyle programme is being developed, together with support for those who recognise their own drugs and alcohol problems. These are already available to many staff.
We're getting them to look at the negative impact that alcohol or drugs are having on their lives, and getting them to sort of focus on the benefits of actually stopping.
A revised drugs and alcohol group standard, including changes to screening, awareness and support requirements, is due to be issued in October.
Whilst few people would argue with the Rimini principles, the realities of an occasionally unreliable railway can cause best-laid plans to go awry. As Amy Rail's Paul Kelly knows only too well, the need for careful planning and the ability to deal with changing situations don't always fit together, resulting in work being lost and more firefighting. Rimini may be a paradise, but getting there was never going to be easy. However great the managerial desire for more green zones, limited capacity often prevents their creation. A familiar story in the busy West Midlands. Not that Paul Kelly is unduly concerned.
Generally, I'm quite happy working up here. The further on you move down there, the safer it is. But the more you walk towards the city, it gets a bit more dangerous.
The key is having the right system at the right location. Overnight capacity allows a green regime at Birmingham New Street, but with traffic running around the clock, that's a non-starter at other pinch points. So what's the problem with red zone working?
During the day, there are areas where you can work quite well with lookouts. Obviously, it depends on the density of traffic. If you're working near a station area like New Street, which is the busiest station in Europe, you don't expect to get too much done with lookout protection. The only time really when it gets a bit quieter is overnight.
Most of Paul's on-track work has already been accommodated into nighttime possessions, leaving those supposedly less risky jobs at the edges of the railway. The white period simply isn't long enough to accommodate the endless list of tests and tweaks the S&T needs to get done. And not surprisingly, at this location, requests for daytime line blockages get a predictable response.
If you can get a separated zone, don't get me wrong, that is the best way to work. But when you can't and you have to work with lookouts, then we should have the initiative to go where we think we can get in.
The job requires flexibility, but Rimini insists on planning, a practical example of the occasional misfit between theory and reality.
Planning work sometimes doesn't always work on the railway. The situation changes on a daily basis. You might have diversions, you might have other people working in the area, so you can't get in there and do any testing. So therefore, then the maintenance is lost in that area. So under Rimini, then you've got to get in touch with your supervisor, and then he's got to go through the whole process again to try and find you some more work.
And that's the difficulty, finding the right balance between the safety needs of the workforce and the business needs of the railway. There isn't always a conflict, but there is here.
You're governed by 13-week and 52-week maintenance schedules. So you can't wait 26 weeks to do a 13-week schedule. You've got to get in there and get it done.
And finally, whilst the future of permanent systems is being decided, the benefits of ATWSs on major projects continue to be promoted. High above the Firth of Forth, Track 02 could soon make an appearance, helping to protect both track workers and trains on the network's most famous landmark.
Like the Forth Bridge itself, the ongoing restoration project is an awesome undertaking. Victorian engineers created some unique challenges for today's safety managers, not least ensuring trains can pass unscathed through the middle of a building site. For those moving materials stored in the forefoot, 21st century technology is being harnessed in preference to the usual method of track worker protection, which predates the bridge.
We minimise red zone working, we do a lot of movement at night, which we'll continue to do, but when we do have to do anything on track, it's by lookout. I've got to say it's safe because to date we've had no incidents with regard to use of safety cover from lookouts. but the introduction of an automatic system really must be better.
And it's better up above too. Track 02 will warn these high-flying scaffolders to stop work whilst trains pass beneath. The individual alert helping out in difficult conditions.
With the wind being as it is and a noisy environment, the harnesses have an audible warning which lets you know there's a train in the system, and it also has a vibrating necklace which you tuck down your collar, and this vibrates to let you know the alarm has gone off. So if you don't hear it, you can also feel it.
All being well, the system will be brought into use later this year, or when major works resume after the winter lull.
And that's it. Safety Net returns in the new year. Goodbye.